Hi, my name is Bret. This is my lovely wife Becky, my daughter Samantha and her husband David. They gave us this old truck to do with whatever we want. We decided to fix it up. So pull up a chair and join us as we fix up this old truck.
Well, today we started building our bulkhead on our bed, and I want to show you how I figured the distance around the bed for the bulkhead first, because we had to get it the same distance from the cab all the way around. You know, we didn't want it way higher than it was wide or way wider than it was high. I took this sophisticated tool here, this paint stir stick, and I laid it against the side of my truck. Held it firm, and this piece was already here. Took the tape measure. Held it against the piece that was already there, and measured to my stick. And I got about 6.5 inches, a little bit more. Then I measured the back of the truck. It was as simple as measuring the back of the truck and then adding my 6.5 inches to it. And I knew how wide this part needed to be. I did the same thing up here at the top, because actually the first piece, our first cut, was these two corners up here. This was all one piece, and we just cut notches in the corners and then bent it. But I came up here and I measured the top, which is 50 inches, and then I added my 6.5 inches to it and marked the our steel, our 1-inch stock, and then we cut grooves in it, bent it, welded it so that it was solid. After we welded our bulkhead to the sides here, we had to put this first cross member in, and we have a couple more cross members. One will go right at the bottom of the window and one will go right at the top of the window, but we had to pull the sides in so that this would fit. This is 77 inches, and there's one right below it that's 77 inches, so it had to be the same. And the way we pulled it in is we wrapped a chain around it and took a chain binder and just pulled the chain binder in and locked it, and that tightened the chain up and pulled in the bulkhead so that it was the correct width. These C-clamps we put on here keep our chain from sliding up when we put pressure on it. If those weren't here, the chain would just slide up and we wouldn't be able to get any pressure. Now, we welded this on because we wanted it a little more secure than bolts, and also because you can see where our wood's at in here, there's not really any good way to get bolts through it. When you weld something like this, you don't want to weld a solid bead, because if you get a crack, it's going to crack all the way up and then it's going to fall off. And we used a flux core welder for this. We didn't do a gas welder. And this welder is like one of those $99 welders that you can pick up at Harbor Freight and places like that. But it will do the job on something like this. You don't have to spend $1,000 on a welder to do something like this. If you're going to do a whole bunch of truck beds, of course you would want the gas welder. Okay, the gas welder I'm talking about, it's like an argon gas welder. It gives you have to have a gas bottle, and you get like a protective barrier with the gas. It shoots it out, and you know, it's just more expensive, a lot more equipment than this $99 thing that we used on this, which, like I said, was more than sufficient. Something else you want to do when you're welding is you want to make sure you protect your paint and your windows from the sparks from the welder and the sparks from when you grind it and clean it up. So use a moving blanket, or at the very least cover it with newspaper or something like you would do when you were painting. A moving blanket or an old blanket out of the house is better, and also keep a spray bottle full of water around, because you could spark a fire. Something else we had to do to ensure that our bed was straight is we had to square it, and when you square it, you have to square it with itself. You can't put a level on it because the truck is not sitting level. So just a little square of some kind in the corner of your bed, not a level against the truck. And that'll keep it, again, straight straight with the bed of the truck, because the frame is straight with the bed of the truck. Just kind of another tip, before you start welding and grinding, you need to make sure that you don't have any gas cans, thinner cans, anything like that around, because they'd spark more than a little fire, they'd spark a little explosion. And also you want to be careful of where your gas tank is at on the vehicle you're welding. Ours is right here, and it was really close to where we're welding, and we're probably at least going to tack our uprights on the side of our bed in place with the welder, so we'll have to be real careful. And because we're making this wooden bed, we have wood around, and we're going to stay out here for at least 30 minutes to make sure this wood is not smoldering, because it could have a spark in it and be smoldering, and we come back out in the morning and the truck and most of the garage would be gone too. And ladies, if you'd like to know how to do this fabulous summer do, you just leave me a comment and I'll do a video on that. To get this angle up here, I laid a piece of cardboard up against the back of the truck, traced the back of the truck onto the cardboard and cut it out, and then we laid it inside of our steel as we were bending it so that we got the correct angle. Once we got the angle on the first side, then we cut another piece of cardboard with the exact angle on it, and we used it to get the other side so that they would be identical, because this template that I made of the truck has a curve on the corner and our bulkhead does not. We also had to find this angle down here, so again I laid a piece of cardboard on the side of the truck and traced the angle of the truck, and that's how we found our angle for our bottom cut. Well, we've been working on the frame for our bed for at least a month now, and we finally completely finished the frame. We welded in these other two cross members in the bulkhead, and we also mounted some lights across the top and a CB antenna. We got the uprights welded for the sides, and we welded our cap on. We have bolted our side boards in on both sides. All we've really got left to do is we have to screw down our boards in the bed, and we have to cut out for our wheel wells and frame the bench. We also got our bumper mounted, and there were some people who had some concerns about the corners or sides of the bed bending, and they thought we should add purlings or outriggers. But what we did instead is this bumper sits on the frame, and the bed that we built sits on the frame, and then the corners of our bed are mounted to our bumper, and they are also attached to our uprights and our side beams that go all the way down in the top and the bottom, and then these two pressure treated 2x6s are mounted to that. So to bend this corner of the bed, you would have to bend this, both of these, the bumper, and you know, there's just no way it's going to go anywhere. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click like and subscribe.